19世纪末的时候啊，很多艺术家已经在画那个梦的，而且画的非常深入的这个东西的。然后弗洛伊德是在构建他解释梦的理论，所以他在1899年的时候就出了梦的解释的那一本。
In his efforts to better access his unconscious mind, Freud discovered a whole new road to the unconscious, the dream. Over time, he theorized that dreams were a place where the mind runs uncensored, playing out thoughts and memories we dare not discuss in the waking world. Freud believed that dreams could provide him with remarkable access to the repressed thoughts in his own mind, as well as his patients.
Dreams were viewed two different ways before Freud. They were of fantastic importance, prophecies about the future. They were almost divine messages. They were also considered to be nonsense, just waste products of the sleeping mind. Now what Freud did was to elevate dreams into the realm of scientific observation and discovery.
Freud presented his ideas on dreams to the world in 1899 in one of his most controversial books. He called it simply The Interpretation of Dreams.
Few foresaw the future. Even Freud, prophet of the modern psyche, remained oblivious. He had struggled with hatred, heard the clamor vilifying his psychoanalysis as the immoral work of the godless. Yet he identified himself as Viennese, eating boiled beef, dressing in hunting garb, and relaxing in the Alps like the emperor. Imperial Vienna seemed immutable to him, while the rationalist in him equated change with progress. There was cause for hope. Anti-Semitism was born in Vienna's golden age, and that age was, to a surprising extent, the product of Jewish creators and patrons. Hence their blindness and their penetrating insight. So when Freud walked around the ring, he was acting out both his belonging to and his strangeness from Vienna. And all the while, funneled by the traffic, he looked inside himself, while some of the trouble lay outside, in what was happening in the city. Just off the ring, the Leopold Museum, part of the city's new museum quarter, testifies to the contemporary currency of Vienna's fin de siècle legacy. It houses works by Klimt's scandalous successor, a brilliant draftsman who eroticized the art of drawing itself.
Egon Schiele was probably the most obsessive self-portraitist of the 20th century, in the sense that not only did he do numerous self-portraits throughout his career, but he also decided to do the self-portrait in the most honest, in his terms, way possible, namely to undress himself and to show himself naked, to observe himself, actually, technically, naked in a mirror. I mean, if we just take, for example, the area which would have been probably most scandalous then, and in some sense scandalous to this day, namely the exposed genitals. What does he see when he looks at his genitals? Well, he sees their form, he takes it apart, he anatomizes it. What it is the kind of dissection of the body, first into its strange parts, and then a transformation of these parts into a kind of decorative pattern which is simultaneously beautiful and in a way ugly. For example, the thigh creates this beautiful, almost arabesque-like shape, the way he decides not to put his feet into the picture, and the way he pushes up his arm just at the upper framing edge of the picture creates an ornamental whole.
再介绍一下那个 Loos 哈 ，Adolf Loos， 他是1870年到1933年。这个人很特别哦，这个其实我觉得我们没有好好的研究他啊。他有一个他的论文集啊，叫《装饰 and 性啊 and 犯罪，装饰与犯罪》建筑文化论集啊，各位看看里面有讲哦，他说其实。 Loos 并不是说装饰就是犯罪，没有，不是，他只是在讲说，啊，他所谓的装饰其实是很广义的，就是说你那人为的设计啊，人造品啊，没有在这个整体的环境考量的话，你才是真的是一个罪恶的啊，这个那 Loos 当然，他的著名的 house 啊，你看他的设计的维也纳的1910年设计的 Steiner House。 开始的时候就是只有清清楚楚的这个东西，然后外面的这个藤慢慢的长起来，这个就红是越变越漂亮啊！那他设计的咖啡米韵啊，那这个就是在那个维也纳的那个婚礼室旁边，那个婚礼画派人会馆旁边哦，那设计的咖啡馆是怎么样啊？2003年的时候是这样啊，还有一个建筑师啊，叫做Josef Hoffman 啊，他是1870年到1956年，所以他也设计了很多哦，这个比较特别。为什么讲他很特殊啊？他们到婚礼画会参加婚礼画会以后，可是他们的最有名的一个作品啊，就是把 Freud 啊，把一些还有那个家居设计师啊，跑去那个工业大亨在比利时建造了一个大的东西。 那这是非常有名的这个作品。
Hoffmanns Herkunft aus dieser Gegend, er wurde 1870 im mährischen Pirnitz geboren, setzt ihn in eine Reihe mit vielen kreativen Köpfen, die zur Jahrhundertwende das kulturelle und wirtschaftliche Leben Wiens bereicherten. Er besuchte ab 1887 die Höhere Staatsgewerbeschule in Brünn und genoss eine klassische Architekturausbildung. Nach einem Praxisjahr als Baupraktikant in Würzburg begann Hoffmann 1892 sein Studium an der von Theophil Hansen erbauten Akademie der Bildenden Künste in Wien. Sein Lehrer Karl Freiherr von Hasenauer war damals dank seiner Ringstraßenbauten auf der Höhe seines Ruhms. Nach dessen Tod übernahm Otto Wagner, der bedeutendste Baukünstler des ausgehenden 19. Jahrhunderts und Wegbereiter der Moderne, die Leitung der Klasse. Nachdem Hoffmann mit mehreren Gleichgesinnten, darunter Gustav Klimt und Kohl Moser, demonstrativ aus dem Künstlerhaus ausgetreten war, erfolgte 1897 die Gründung einer Vereinigung bildender Künstler, der Sezession. Das Stammhaus der neuen Vereinigung, erbaut von Josef Maria Olbrich, bot dem jungen Hoffmann als Gestalter von Ausstellungen ideale Gelegenheit, sich einen kunstsinnigen, fortschrittlich eingestellten und finanziell gut gestellten Kreis von potenziellen Auftraggebern vorzustellen. Überhaupt scheint sich die Gesellschaft dieser Zeit wie nie zuvor für Kunst zu interessieren. Die herkömmlichen Salons, Akademien und dergleichen verlieren sehr schnell an Bedeutung und die Moderne stellt die Autorität der Tradition in Frage. Die Kunst dieser Zeit. Bereits 1899 war der Ruf Hoffmanns so gefestigt, dass er als Professor an die Wiener Kunstgewerbeschule berufen wurde. Hoffmann war den Bauherren von der Sezession her in Freundschaft verbunden. Und es bot sich ihm hier die Gelegenheit, Häuser zu realisieren, die gemeinsamen Idealvorstellungen entsprachen. Es galt, eine Einheit von Haus und Einrichtung zu erreichen oder, mit Hoffmanns eigenen Worten, ein Haus zu errichten, dessen Äußeres auch schon sein Inneres verraten müsse. Bei der Innenraumgestaltung tritt die Wandlung Hoffmanns noch stärker zutage. Hier entfernt er sich mehr und mehr von der Sezession und entwickelt zum ersten Mal eine völlig unverkennbare, eigenständige Handschrift. Die Inneneinrichtung der Häuser, die heute noch existieren, entspricht nicht mehr dem Originalzustand, wenngleich sie in einigen Fällen liebevoll den heutigen Bedürfnissen angepasst wurde. Hoffmanns Abkehr von den Kurvenschwüngen des Art Nouveau und seine Hinwendung zu einfacheren Formen muss im historischen Zusammenhang mit jener allgemeinen Abwendung vom floralen Jugendstil gesehen werden, die um 1900 in Europa einzusetzen begann und die mit einer Wiederbelebung klassizistischer Ideale Hand in Hand ging. Besonderen Einfluss haben zu dieser Zeit britische Vorbilder auf Hoffmann ausgeübt. Sein bewunderndes Interesse für die jüngsten Entwicklungen in der Architektur und im Kunstgewerbe Großbritanniens ist leicht zu erklären. Einerseits sorgten zahlreiche illustrierte Fachzeitschriften für einen regen Informationsaustausch. Andererseits gab es mehrere Sezessionsausstellungen mit Beteiligungen britischer Künstler wie Ashby und Mackintosh. In aller Welt entstanden nun Werkstätten, die sich die Aufgabe stellten, neue, der Zeit entsprechende Formen zu finden und nicht mehr an den historischen Vorbildern Maß nehmen wollten. Mit dem Vermögen des jungen Industriellen und Kunstfreundes Fritz Werndorfer und mit dem Enthusiasmus und der Schaffenskraft Josef Hoffmanns und Kohle Mosers wurde im Mai 1903 die Wiener Werkstätte gegründet. Eine Produktivgenossenschaft von Kunsthandwerkern, die auf das Leben Hoffmanns wie auch auf das Wiener Kunstleben eine tiefgreifende Wirkung haben sollte. Sitz des Unternehmens war in der Neustiftgasse 32 bis 34, wo ein Neubau für ihre Zwecke adaptiert wurde. Es sollte zwar schließlich das gesamte Vermögen Werndorfers kosten, vorläufig aber war die Begeisterung, mit der sich die Hauptbeteiligten auf die neue Aufgabe stürzten, groß. Durch die rege Ausstellungstätigkeit, durch Messebeteiligungen und durch die fördernde Aktivität der wohlwollenden Presse erlangte die Wiener Werkstätte binnen kurzer Zeit einen ausgezeichneten Ruf bei einem großen Interessentenkreis. Trotzdem war es nicht möglich, das Unternehmen auf selbstständige Beine zu stellen und von Förderern und Geldgebern unabhängig zu machen.
Michaelerplatz punctuates the old city, and here rises the great Baroque facade, the entranceway to the imperial castle. This is Baroque art at its best, and it was here that the city decided to regularize the square, tear down some of the old buildings, and this left a space to build a new structure. The builders of this building chose a firebrand architectural critic, Adolf Loos, to design the structure. They must have known what they were doing. This was a man who had written about ornament as a crime and who had complained about the Ring Street as a mere paper facade. Adolf Loos complained that if you had marble or if you had stucco, it was not real marble, not real stucco, it was poured concrete nailed onto the exterior of the building. And it was that kind of deceit, that kind of falsehood that Loos wanted to do away with. By clearing away ornament, Loos not only struck a blow against the twin monsters of falsehood and bad taste, he also wanted to reforge an ancient link between truth and beauty. His interiors demonstrated the sheer beauty of materials, of wood, of stone, of metal and glass and leather. And by using expensive materials and by treating them simply, he brought out their sensual appeal. He foreshadows all the best of modern design. It was rumored that the emperor hated the Loos house, and that he drew the curtains of his palace, blocking the view of that modern unornamented facade, those windows without eyebrows. If you really want to find where modern art really takes off in Vienna, I don't think you go to Klimt and Schiele. Even though they were scandalous artists and they broke with tradition, they still remain linked to ideas about figuration, about emotion, just about what an image is that is far more traditional. If you really want to see the birth of the modern, you come to the Michaelerplatz and you look at the facade of Adolf Loos, because this is representation stripped bare. This is the blank canvas. This is the 0 point of Austrian modernism. The house that Ludwig Wittgenstein designed for his sister seems frozen at this 0 point. This is less like a home than like a full-scale, three-dimensional model of what a home should be. Everywhere you see logic at work. There's no curves, no hidden corners to hide it. And indeed, there are no curtains, no carpets, no chandeliers, and originally all the rooms were lit by naked light bulbs. This door handle, for example, which took the philosopher over a year to design, it's a door handle that shows what it is. But then Ludwig Wittgenstein was not famous for his architecture, however radical this building is, but for his philosophy. And his philosophy was centrally concerned with establishing the narrow limits of what it can say and do. Totus logico philosophicus made him the most influential philosopher of the modern age. Wittgenstein sought to describe what the world looks like to a completely isolated individual. Using the powerful new tools of modern logic, he tried to explain how the mind, through language, can possibly reflect the world. Wittgenstein does with language what he does here in the house. He strips it bare. He demonstrates that there are certain concepts that cannot be put into words, like God, art, and history. They are unsayable and meaningless. He believed that language could only refer to facts. Everything else, everything of importance lay outside of language. Or as the Tractatus states, that whereof we cannot speak, we must pass over in silence. Wittgenstein's book is a poem of solitude. It opens with a lone voice declaring that the world is what language can say about the world. There are no counter-arguments here, just certitude. And with certitude, the voice also concludes that the important things of human life can't be said. And so the voice remains completely alone.
Just days after Wittgenstein began writing the Tractatus, a Serbian nationalist assassinated Franz Josef's heir in Sarajevo. While the modernists grappled with isolation, people were asserting their identity through fierce belonging to a group. In its final days, the Habsburg Empire was riven by its ethnic divisions. The death of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand plunged Europe into 2 world wars, both fueled by ethnic hatred. Music is Vienna's most powerful cultural legacy. Here Haydn, Mozart and Beethoven, Schubert, Brahms and Mahler worked, and the classical style was born. And it was here at Habsburg Vienna's moment of destiny, at the eve of World War I, that this legacy was shaken to the core. To his admirers, the composer Arnold Shoenberg liberated dissonance. To his detractors, he transformed music into noise. And in 1913, in one of the era's noisiest cultural controversies, Schoenberg's composition caused literally a riot in the music hall. While angry members of the audience shouted insults, reporters rushed back to their offices to declare the young composer insane. Today, Vienna has embraced Schoenberg forcefully, dedicating a center to him and his musical influence. Christian Meyer is its director.
What Schoenberg does is he's democratizing the tones, because it takes all the 12 half tones of the octave and gives them equal rights. Critics already said these are Demokratengeräusche, noises of Democrats, which had a very bad context at the time.
For people who were anti-democratic.
Of course, everyone was anti-democratic. No one could imagine a democracy to be a working system.
Yes.
It came very close to anarchy, and anarchy was really what nobody wanted. After all, it was an anarchist who killed the last Habsburg emperor.
Yes.
Wassily Kandinsky, who got to know a Schoenberg concert, the painter who got to know a Schoenberg concert in 1911, he heard, and he writes a letter to Schoenberg whom he hadn't known before. He writes to him, "Dear Professor Schoenberg, I just heard your concert, and I must say that what you have achieved in music is exactly what I want to achieve in painting, and haven't found it as yet." So by listening to Schoenberg's music, Kandinsky realizes what he has to do in painting to get what later on is the first abstract painting in art's history. So the reception of such people is of extraordinary importance, because there would be no abstract painting without Kandinsky listening to Schoenberg, yes. Or at least much later this would have happened. Of course, this completely new kind of music was just appropriate to describe the horrors which were to come. Like in The Survivor from Warsaw, how would you describe the horrors of the Holocaust and of the ghetto in Warsaw, other than with these 12-tone possibilities?
I'm back where I started. In front of Franz Josef's votive church lies the Freud Park. In Vienna, the future presses uncannily up against the past. But would Freud have had his insights if his city were not as rigid, overstructured, and transparent as it was? so like a crystal. Viennese modernism was ahead of its time because in its moment of flowering, time itself seemed at a standstill. My journey's finished, but the words on this monument continue to speak. The voice of reason is soft.